right, just like that, Shazam. Back in the man cave. What a bummer. We did Sarah watched the live feed yesterday morning when I was catching all those fish. Drove her crazy. So she packed up the dog some food and some clothes and burned all the way out there. And we got up early at 4 o'clock to be, because it's a bit of a long run. If you saw the live feed yesterday, it's a bit of a long run, right? And we ran all the way down there. And if she didn't catch a fish right off the bat, and we had the live feed going again on here. From what I could tell, it was live feeding perfect. So we just let it roll. And she went on to catch, I think, 9 salmon. I caught 2 altogether. She's one after the other, having a riot. And then I put the 360 cam up on the stern of the boat, too, to record her catching fish. And I thought I got some really cool video. And then we turned the boat to go to another spot, and then she said that it had lost connection. I'm like, oh well. I guess just close. We used the laptop for it, put it on the seat of the boat. So she closed the laptop. We ran up to the other spot. And later on, I went to go see if her video. I wanted to see her catching those fish. And apparently, if you don't end a YouTube live video properly, then YouTube does not render the whole video and doesn't save it. And it's gone forever. Couldn't believe it. Apparently, it only loaded up like 45 seconds, rendered 45 seconds to save onto the YouTube channel. And that really, really sucked because, first off, what a memory for Sarah, the day that she came out and absolutely kicked my ass, literally 5 feet away from me nonstop, which is so much fun, and got a lot of cool video of catching fish and my friends in their boats. So that was a real letdown for me. And then what? And the 360 camera footage that I had on there, it went missing. I think maybe, I don't know, I didn't have enough sleep and I was cross-eyed and I deleted it by accident because I was throwing it down to the bottom of the ocean too and looking at those videos. And then I was deleting some of the content to free up space on the card. And I think I deleted that too. So it was an epic freaking fail today. It sucked. It's like losing a huge fish. There's nothing you can do about it. Just put it out of your mind. Get the hooks back in the water. I think I'm still in a bit of a pout stage of losing all that video, and especially the live feed. Like, come on, really? But I think there's a whole bunch of people on here that got to see that today as it live fed, but that's all it is. It's just a memory now. It's gone. But anyways, then on top of that, I had a huge nothing but equipment failure, so I couldn't do the podcast today at the marina after we had to cancel. The poor Mike. Hope to get him on ASAP. And as well as another friend of ours, John. Hope to get John on here quick. Trying to get him on earlier, but it was a bad connection. But I think we got things lined out all across the board for this week. There you go. There's my opening ramble. Now, earlier, I also shared with the viewers, if you got a crazy-ass outdoor adventure story you want to share with the world, I'm all over it. I love hearing real-life adventure stuff. Love it, obviously. I think I might have one here. So let's get into it. This is titled, My Amazing Outdoor Survival Story from Over 50 Years Ago. All right, here we go. Excuse me. Hi, Steve. I hope this is the email to send in life experiences. If not, I have a draft to resend when you state the email. Now, this works, man. You got it. I got this off your website. My email name, Trey, is not my real name, so feel free to use it. Okay. Those that know me will recognize the nickname, but stalkers can't track me down with it. Anyway, when I was about 10 to 12 years old, we had a 16-foot Steury fishing boat. Steury fishing boat. Never heard of that hull before. We boldly went 20 miles offshore into the Atlantic Ocean quite often. But the day this happened, we were going to fish for sea trout and black drum in the middle of Delaware Bay near its mouth. Delaware Bay is a very wide bay that is relatively shallow as far as large river-fed bays in this area go, not generally deep like the Chesapeake Bay to the south. So we're out there catching lots of sea trout and some bottom fish on cut squid and casting jigs, but no drum hit the ball of clams on the drum jig as was usual. It was the weekend during the summer, and there are hundreds of boats on the water around us, and most of them are fishermen. Then everyone starts to notice this nasty-looking lone storm cloud straight up the bay a long distance off to the north. The cloud looked really nasty and black, but the storm doesn't cover much area, and there is blue sky behind it. Oops, hold on, I got a bunch of wind coming through here. Had to, people are going to see the hair on the mask moving. I think it's a big demon in here or something. Got the doors open, it's 91 degrees out today. The cloud looked really nasty and black, but the storm doesn't cover much area, and there's blue sky around it. And as we watch and notice, it is coming right for us. From a very long distance away, from straight up the bay, my father and the other adult, his friend, discuss what to do, while me and the other guy's son, who is about my age, listen. They decide to ride the little nasty-looking storm out. But about 25% of the boats get off the water and head for the launching ramp a couple miles away. So, of course, we joked about them being pussies. As the storm approached, the wind picked up really bad. We decided to pull in our lines when we noticed our 3 and 4 ounce pyramid sinker could be seen on the surface, trailing far behind the boat. So we definitely were no longer drift bottom fishing. The tide was rushing in and the wind was blowing our boat out so fast it was ridiculous. Now it's too late to run for the launching ramp, but we have to try to ride out the storm. The life vests were handed out and put on and adjusted with the nasty jet black clouds still far away but heading right for us, and the wind and sea is already getting extreme. The waves were now 6 feet high, which we encountered often with no problems, but they were really close together, like a few feet apart. So our bow was plowing through every other wave, and we were taking on water fast. They gave the throw cushion to me to add to the life vest I was wearing, and cut the bottom of one of our gallon jugs. This started the day full of ice that we froze after filling the jug with water to become a nearly 1 gallon bailing device. I was a really strong swimmer, even in big waves, and looked at the shore about 2 miles away and thought, well, that's an easy swim. So I planned to give the throw cushion to the other boy if we sank, but I never said that to anyone. My dad's friend started bailing a gallon of water at a time as fast as he could, having to stick his head and arms into the covered area at the back of the boat where our portable 6-gallon fuel tanks were causing him to breathe gas fumes the entire time. The bailing helped a lot, but he was losing ground on the water that was rapidly filling our boat. Yeah, that sucks. Now, a fleet of boats had gathered around 2 huge yachts, and the boats started sinking. What? A fleet of boats had gathered around 2 huge yachts, and the boats started sinking. I watched as 33 boats sank around us. What? Holy shit. At one point, I thought a body drifted by as I saw a life vest, but no head sticking up. It turned out to be the boat's occupants didn't put their life vest on until their boat was definitely sinking fast, and the guy panicked and put his life vest on backwards so it was holding his head underwater. We watched a fully submerged boat go by and started looking for other sunk boats that might crash into our boat as we floundered along. Now I was watching the spectacle of the huge yachts trying to pick up survivors. Their bow would go down almost to the point of going underwater, and they would grab one of the desperate men, women, and children from the water, and next thing you know, they were holding a squirming victim about 20 feet off the water trying to pull the victim over the side before the bow dipped far into the water again, and the victim would be back in the water. It was sort of mesmerizing. No doubt. Eventually, someone picked up the guy I saw drift by with his life vest on backwards, and a Donzi speedboat agreed to race him to the launching ramp. The yachts were in no danger, but they could only hold their ground. They didn't want to try to run into the port. When we heard this on the radio, we knew we had a chance to tuck in behind the Donzi as it cut through the waves heading for where we had launched our boat, or any other safe water that he may be taking the drowning victim. We didn't care much, we just wanted to reach a safe harbor that was sheltered from the raging seas and the winds. So that's what we did. A few minutes after we reached the dock, where an ambulance was waiting for the victim and the Donzi, who they hoped the EMTs could save, we looked out and the storm had passed and the waters calmed. Of course, the thought that we could go back out for a normal day fishing now, that there were blue skies and calm seas, was floated out for consideration, but everyone agreed we'd had enough adventure for one day and we should load the boat on the trailer and drive home. The EMTs couldn't save the guy the Donzi had brought in. That sucks. News reports said the storm's winds were so strong that they blew over a section of Jersey wall that is used to divide traffic on major highways to prevent high-speed head-on collisions. The barriers are about 3 feet high and a foot across of concrete at the top, and about double that across the bottom. Each block of Jersey wall is about 10 feet long, so the wind blew over barriers that weigh tons and are designed to knock a semi-tractor trailer hauling a heavy load back on their side of the divided highway without falling over or breaking. Whoa. I had some friends boating in the Chesapeake Bay that had the same storm go straight down the Chesapeake Bay like it had gone straight down the Delaware Bay. But being much deeper bay, they had to deal with the 70-plus mile-per-hour winds and waves much farther apart due to the bay being much deeper. But the storm was lined up to go straight down the middle of the Chesapeake and sank some boats there as well. The crazy part was how small the storm looked. The really nasty cloud covered a relatively small area with blue skies all around it, which no doubt tricked boats on the Chesapeake to decide to ride it out as well. In retrospect, the smart people got off the water before the effects of the storm hit. The extreme winds long preceded the rain, and storm clouds being overhead by around 5 minutes. And by the time the rain and clouds were overhead, you had been committed to trying to ride out the very rough seas and extremely high winds for a while already. The lesson is when things say it looks really bad, and other things say it will be brief. Heed the gloomy warning and ignore the thoughts that it won't be bad for long. We could have easily pulled our lines and ran into the sheltered harbor to wait the short time it took for the storm to pass, but we didn't. That was really stupid, and almost cost us our lives, or at least put our lives in extreme peril if our boat sank. Shortly after that trip, my dad sold the Stury, and we bought the free-drain-designed Mako, Robolo, and Aquasport center console fishing boats. You can completely submerge this design, 10 feet underwater, and the boat would float to the surface and all the water would drain out by the force of gravity. If we ever got in that situation again, there would be no need to bail, and no worry that the boat would sink. We bought a 21-foot Robolo from a guy in Clearwater, Florida. He told us about when he was running into the inlet at night during the dark of the moon with his lights off and in the trough of some huge waves. And the wave behind the Robolo broke over the stern of his boat, sweeping him away from the console. But he caught himself on the bow railing, and by the time he got back to the helm, all the water that didn't go out over the bow had already drained out of the boat. We knew better than to ask why he was boating at night during the dark of the moon in the trough between waves with his lights turned off. Obviously, he was smuggling something. My dad bought a new boat every year in Florida on his annual trip to do my grandmother's taxes and sold the boat we liked least after he trailed it up to Maryland, and we used the new boat for a while. He would easily double his money on the more lucrative boat market here. We kept that Robolo for decades. Stay safe. I have some Bigfoot experiences, but they're all a bit tame compared to others that you read. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Trust me. To anybody who can hear me, it does not matter. You've had something happen, we want to hear about it. I put them in the comments section, but someone sent one of the comments section to you that you read on your channel, so maybe they're not as tame as I think they are. Bigfoot are around here, but usually never let me see them. Only once did I actually see one, but at the time I didn't believe Bigfoot existed, and if they did, there were none anywhere near where I live or hunt. So of course I just dismissed it as a huge guy in a really good ghillie suit. But I thought it really odd that he obviously made me without looking my way. He just lifted his head like he was sniffing the air, and then doubled back to go past me through really heavy cover rather than in the open like he had been on course to do. That's what I would expect from a wild animal to do, not another hunter. I never could figure out how that guy knew I was there without looking my way. And nobody ever spotted me in the tree stand, even if they did to look to see if someone was there. By his actions, he seemed to scent me on the wind, or somehow sense me with a sixth sense. few years later, I realized Bigfoot were not just real, but they were where I hunted. And that explained what I observed that never made sense to me. It wasn't a huge farmhand in an unbelievably good ghillie suit, as I assumed was the only possibility. It was a Bigfoot. Yes, it was. And welcome to the club. I'm glad you made it through that storm. Sorry that other person didn't. That's a real terrifying experience, man. Real terrifying. Been there. That skipper I was with when I commercial fished was a bit of a psychopath at times. He'd have dollar signs for eyeballs. And usually at any given time, we were 7 to 9 hour run home. And for anybody that is not familiar with the ocean, especially the open seas, the speed at which the water changes is supernatural. It's absolutely mind-boggling. So, as an example, we could be out there on a blue summer's day, no wind, just rolling waves, absolute paradise. And you look as far as you can see in the ocean surface. As far as you can see, and you'll see a thin, thin, dark line on the horizon. Just a thin, dark line. That far away. And sometimes you barely have enough time to get up, go to the front, and put on your rain gear. And all of a sudden, absolute all hell breaks loose. It's absolutely bizarre. Yeah, and then the guy I was with, he would make us stay out there, just like some of those people in your story. A lot of boats left. Well, we would hear all the other trawlers and other trawlers leaving because the storm's coming, and we'd stay out there. And you could stand in that boat and do a 360, and I wouldn't see one boat or land in any direction. And we're out there in those 10, 15, 30-foot waves. Yeah, storms and boats, it's nothing to ignore. Right now, Sabe in California Stan. Okay. Appreciate that email, my man, that adventure email. Big time. Hello, Brother Steve, to use my name. I do not give a rep. My name is Larry Wright from Georgetown, California, Stan. My first encounter was in '04 when I drove up to Stumpy Meadows Reservoir after work with my boat to go fishing. It was during the week, maybe Tuesday or Thursday. I was happy to see that I had the whole lake to myself. Nobody else is there. All mine. Sun was setting, so I decided to fish for brown trout using a Rapala fishing lure and trolling close to the shoreline in my small 12-foot fishing boat. I had an electric motor, so the only sounds were the water slapping against the boat and the sounds of wildlife. While I was turning into this cove on the backside of the lake, a big ponderosa pine tree fell. Bam! No, I didn't see it, but it is one of the only trees around the lake. My first thought was that it was strange I did not hear a chainsaw. Then I had a strong feeling of wanting to get out of there. I didn't think of Sasquatch because it would be years later before I put the pieces together. Fast forward to 2024. I got the Sasquatch bug and started listening to everything and reading everything. I'm fortunate enough that from my workplace, I can listen to stories all day long, and I have heard thousands of them. The funny thing is, at the start of this journey, like most people, I thought it was a giant ape thingamabob. Through the years, I thought it was the Nephilim, but now I know they are an ancient race of people. I find it hard to believe that after years of research, people like Jeff M. still think they are apes and call people like me woo and flute players. The reason I mention this is once I put away my guns and tech and accepted that they are the woo, I saw my first giant being. And just remember, those people are getting paid to mislead everybody, all right? Just so you know. If you haven't figured it out yet, their income depends on keeping everybody going in circles. There you go. I started going out where I had my first encounter at Stumpy, accompanied by a bottle of wine, lots of treats, and my guitar. I'm a guitar player, not a flute. LOL. I had a gifting rock, and I would lie out a blanket and play guitar and sing and talk to the forest. Well, it did not take long until I saw my first forest giant being. If I remember right, it was maybe the third time going up there, July 27th, 2024, roughly 7:30 p.m. I'd been there for a couple of hours and was starting to get a little frustrated with nothing happening, so I asked for the forest to at least a tree to knock down. Then I let out a loud whoop. I never do those, but I was frustrated. Then bang, bang. 2 tree knocks, and the forest went crazy. Stuff was breaking all over in front of me. A bulrush 20 feet away. I was so excited, but I was also terrified. All I had was my guitar. But as soon as it stopped, my heart was pounding. And I thought of one thing to do. I yelled out, "My name is Larry." "What's your name?" LOL. Nothing. So I started walking up the hill to get a better look at where the sound came from, and then I saw him. I thought he was crouched down because I could only see his head. I found out later that there is an old logging road that is below where I saw him, so he was standing on the old logging road. But because the road was lower from my angle, all I saw was his head. If I had retreated and walked down, I would have seen all of them. Damn it, man. Bugs were miserable that day, so I saw his ear twitch as he shooed away the bugs. Huh? You mean just his ear twitched? I was mad at myself because it was getting dark, and I left my binocular at the house. Damn it, man, number 2. At that point, I said thank you and mentioned that I had some yum-yums here for him and I would leave them for my friend. Good night. Then I hiked my way back to my truck. My second sighting was brief, but extremely cool. I was driving north on Highway 101 in Humboldt County around 9 p.m. when I saw a juvenile, partially cloaked, run across the freeway. It was so smooth. The head never wobbled, just ran across, and the head went in a straight line. That's what caught my attention. Pretty cool, but brief. One thing I want to address is that, as I mentioned at the beginning, I have become deeply immersed in all things Sasquatch over the past few years. I feel at this point I have a good handle on them. Number 1, there are different types. Most are peaceful, but just like people, some are jerks and grumpy. It only takes one teenager or a rough male to ruin your day. Number 2, some clans have witnessed one of their loved ones die a painful death because of an infected gunshot wound. So payback is a bitch, and unfortunately, most of the time the payback affects an innocent hiker, not the dirtbag who shot their family member. That's a bold statement to make without knowing a forest person who died of an infected gunshot wound. That needs some backup to make that bold statement, I would say. Number 3, people should not go out alone. I do because I can't find anyone to go with me. And I know you, Steve, have the same issue to some degree and should have at least bear spray and an air horn. Number 4, if you want an experience, you must check yourself. What is your purpose and what's in your heart before entering the woods, because they know your intent before you get out of your vehicle. Number 5, you're not going to trick them. So leave your trail cam in your car. I have more to share with you, but right now I will start with this. All right, man. Appreciate it. Truth is like a lion. You do not have to defend it. Set it free and it will defend itself. True enough. Okay, man. Appreciate that. Keep sharing the knowledge. Keep sharing the knowledge. Hope nothing bad happens to you out there. Next. Who's this? This next email is titled Strange Lights. Steve, it's okay to use my name. No fear in me of others. In the past, I sent a text in about a story my grandfather told me about loggers in Northern California having the equipment smashed and thrown around. My wife and I watch every morning with a coffee and breakfast. Some of the letters about orbs and UFOs made me remember something. Back in the late 80s to mid-90s, I worked on a ranch in southern Wyoming. In the summers, we had huge thunderstorms. And one night after a hard day of running down cows that got out of the pasture, I turned in really late. Well, that day the weatherman predicted some nasty weather coming our way, and it hit at about midnight. I was awakened to thunder and lightning so close, the flash and boom were in the same instant. As I lay in my bed, a bright blue ball appeared in front of my bed, about the size of a basketball. That would freak out anybody, would it not? Picture it. Like, really picture that. I'd heard about it, but never seen it before. Oh, sorry. I missed you. As I lay, about the size of a basketball, my thought was ball lightning. I'd heard about it, but never seen it before. It was there for about 30 seconds, then just gone. That same night, one of our better ranch horses died. We figured he'd been hit by lightning. Oh, that sucks. He was the one I had rode after the runaway cows. I put him in a pasture all by himself and fed him away from the other horses so he could relax and enjoy his late dinner. He got a nice can of grain also, and as I think of it now, I wonder if it was something other than a lightning storm that killed him, or if maybe someone or something used it as cover. We never seen any marks on that horse to prove it was lightning. Learning from your share as a people has opened my mind to new options. At that same time, I was having extremely vivid dreams about flying objects on the ranch and around the house I was living in. Now I wonder if they were dreams, or did something try to cover up things by messing with my memory. I really don't know what happened. I just have some unanswered questions. My puzzle has some strange sides to it. That's all I got for now. Keep on fighting, brother. Ken Morgan, LOL. Yes, you can use my name and some of the emails from Oregon and the Willamette, pronounced Willamette, in our area. You're helping so many people with this. You're good people. Steve, anytime you ever come southwest Oregon, look me up. Appreciate that, man. Absolutely appreciate the kind words. And more importantly, you coming out and being brave and honest here with all the people. We really, really, really appreciate that. Big time. Ball lightning. What an easy thing to tell the students in a classroom, right? Okay, now listen, if you ever see a big bright ball of light, it's just ball lightning, okay? Yeah. Teach your own, take what you will or leave it, but for me, the ball lightning statement from anybody is a line of bullshit. That's my reaction. Until somebody convinces me otherwise. Summer 1973. Michael Findling. Hope I can use your name, Michael. I was 15 years old and a counselor in training at Camp Minnehaha Springs, West Virginia. My brother and I had been campers for many years and were very familiar with our beautiful mountainous surroundings and all the fun activities that we enjoyed so much. We have many great memories at camp in West Virginia. I'd arrived at camp a week early in the summer of 73 to help get the camp in order, prepare for the arrival of the campers, and learn the duties of a CIT, counselor in training. My first task was to whitewash the horse barn. We made our own whitewash, and one of the ingredients is lye, which is a caustic chemical. And I now know why safety goggles should be worn. Another CIT was up the ladder whitewashing the higher portion of the building, while I was below the ladder whitewashing the lower areas of the building. And out of the corner of my eye, I noticed the bucket of whitewash slip off the nail high above me on the ladder that it was hanging from. I instinctively reached out to grab the bucket as it whizzed past my head. I missed the bucket and hit the ground flat, and all the whitewash splashed straight up into my face as I was leaning over it. Ooh, you would have got the full bucket too. Someone ran to grab a water hose and started to flush my face and eyes with cool water. I could feel my eyes burning, but I had no idea what trouble was ahead for me. The nurse at the camp's infirmary took me to the local health clinic in town about 9 miles away. The doctor there did his best to clear my eyes, but he was not equipped for what I needed. It was late in the day and I spent the night in the infirmary. My eyes were very irritated and it felt like I had foreign objects the size of boulders under my eyelids, and it was torture. Ooh, just like when I was in Alabama last spring. That was brutal. Not the same thing you had, but that you just described what I went through. The next day, the nurse drove me to Gill Memorial Hospital in Roanoke, Virginia. and it seemed like we drove for hours to get there. That first 24 hours was very uncomfortable. It hurt to open my eyes, and when I forced my eyes open, I realized that I could not see. I had suffered and was continuing to suffer second and third degree burns on my eyes. I was blinded. The doctors in Roanoke worked hard to save my eyes. Small suction cups were attached directly to my eyes, flushing my eyes with a solution 24/7 for weeks. Oh my God. I never slept well and endured this Chinese water torture in hopes of a cure. What was to become of me? One day I overheard the doctor talking to my mother in the hallway outside my room. The conversation was about the eye bank being the only option left. Besides having my mother by my side, the highlight of my first couple of weeks in the hospital was when the janitor would come into my private room very early in the morning before anyone else to scrub, mop, and clean the floor of my room while he was singing church hymns. Before the janitor left my room, he would lean over my bed and say a prayer over me. Over the next few days, my new friend would teach me these prayers, and we began saying them together every day before he left my room. What a kind man. This occurred every morning for about 2 weeks. I looked forward to waking up in the morning to hear the clanking of the mop bucket and the old janitor singing. I could tell from his diction and how he shuffled his feet across the room that he was an older African American with a great voice, and he cared about me when I needed it. It didn't occur to me at the time, but I did not know his name, and he never asked mine. After a couple of weeks, the hospital moved me to a semi-private room on another floor on another wing of the hospital. My eyes were still being flushed 24/7. Once in the new hospital room, I asked my mother to go find the janitor and tell him where I am. He doesn't know they've moved me, and he may not know how to find me. My mother came back after looking for the janitor and couldn't find him. She said that she would wake up early the next morning and talk to him during the time of the day that I was usually with him. My mother came to the hospital early the next morning, and after not being able to find the janitor, and she had asked the nurse on the floor how to find him, the nurses said that not only did they not have a janitor fitting my description, but no janitors began their shifts early in the morning. There was no such person. I would spend a couple more weeks at the hospital, and the doctors eventually released me to go home, blind with no expectations of regaining my eyesight. Once home, my mother was my only caregiver. She had many salves, ointments, and eye drops that had to be administered daily, and some through the night. The two of us never got a good night's sleep. She would wake me in the middle of the night so that my eyes received the prescribed treatment. It was summertime, and we would go for long walks together. I had to hold my mother's hand on these walks so that I didn't trip on a curb, steps, or any debris in my way. My mother was a saint. Who else would do all this for me? I prayed daily and often repeated the prayers taught to me by the janitor in Roanoke. School started at the end of summer, and I was provided tutors that came to my home to teach me my schoolwork. I was handicapped, and Fairfax County provided me with every resource I needed to get my work done. I enjoyed the talking books, and my English teachers allowed me to take oral exams. My high school was very accommodating. And about a year later after the accident, I woke up one glorious morning, walked into my mother's bedroom and told her, "Mom, I can see you." We both had a good cry and hugged. Over the next few years, my eyesight kept getting stronger. I graduated high school with honors and without having read a single book during my last 3 years of high school. After college, my eyesight was 2013 in one eye and 2015 in the other. I was enjoying eyesight stronger than before the accident. A miracle. I can't help but think that I've been looked after my whole life. I think it's quite apparent. That's quite the story. That's a great story. Wow. Wow. What do you say to that? Besides, wow. That's something else. Isn't it? That's something else. Good for you, man. Wow. What a story. Who's next? Thoughts on the my brain just keeps going to our senior member of society who emailed in anonymously yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before with those kind words of how to heal, we can heal ourselves, etc.? Thoughts on the forest people and humans. Hi, Steve. It's okay to use my name if you choose to read. Just my thoughts on the forest people and humans. I imagine being a forest person, living in the beauty and harshness of nature. Being naturally equipped to survive in the wild. Having the intelligence, emotions, and a curiosity similar to humans, but without all the baggage humans are raised to carry. Living more in the moment. Accepting life on its own terms. Forest people having the ability to influence and read the emotions and thoughts of other living beings gives them a great advantage to surviving in the natural environment. This is probably something most wild animals possess, but that humans have mostly lost. Humans having this type of ability are generally shunned and feared in human society. Contrast to this, human lives where expectations fall far outside the limitations of nature. Humans generally do not want to accept the idea that our greatest gift could have been created for us and that we are the caretakers of this creation. A very small percentage of humans are highly skilled in mathematics, yet with these skills, humans try to dissect nature and to become its master, for some good, but generally for ways to destroy other humans, even to the point of destroying humanity's greatest gift. I believe that it is important not to place limitations on God's creation, but to accept and appreciate our greatest gift. Thank you for your forum. I especially appreciate your efforts to help those in need. Sincerely, Eric Burtz. Eric? Kind words. Wise words. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate your email. Man, we're all over the map with topics today, aren't we? That's a long one. Long one. What do we got here? I'm going to read this one more and then I am going in. Get a good night's sleep finally. My encounter. Hi, Steve. My name is Tom. You can use my name if you want. I hope this email finds you well. And you too. I've told one person this story, and it was to my 16-year-old nephew. And I told him recently. The guy I was hunting with doesn't know for fear of his ridicule, but this story we refer to as the Hunting with the Three Stooges Day. It started out the day before opening archery season in Pennsylvania, Northwest PA, Allegheny National Forest. As we're hanging tree stands, so we don't have to haul them in on the long walk in, we like to go where no one else does, about 7 to 8 miles drive, and then another mile or so walk in. That's where the big bucks hang out, as I'm sure you know. Sounds familiar. As we left our stands, I put a lock on mine, and why, I'll never know. The morning couldn't come quick enough because we had cameras hung and checked them after we hung our stands, revealing a 180-plus inch buck and several shooters. I hardly slept that night. All right, I read this, but I'm going to read it again. Well, morning came and we headed out. I put my key to my stand, my wallet, and leaving in the morning. Forgot I did that, and left my wallet on the camp table. Not realizing this until I was at my stand. My buddy wasn't very happy, nor was I. I told him to go to his stand and I'll go get the key. He agreed, and when I returned to unlock my stand, the key broke off in the lock. This is why we refer to hunting with the Stooges Day. I radioed him to tell him what happened, and I'll go to the pine spot. It's an old dead pine that fell over that you can walk out on, and it overlooks a small clearing about 80 to 100 yards away with a natural seat about 15 feet up. As daylight broke, the woods were alive with the regular critters, squirrels, and chipmunks, etc. I was sitting for about an hour or so when I suddenly noticed that all the sounds had stopped, like someone shut the sound off, and a feeling of get out of the woods now came over me. I can't explain it. Never happened before or since. And as I exited the woods, the smell of wet dog that rolled in a pile of rotting guts is the only way to explain. It overcame my lungs, making it hard to breathe, and I couldn't get to my truck fast enough. The feeling I had wasn't terror, but as that I didn't belong. Like I was trespassing and I was being pushed out of that spot. I've been back to that spot, but not alone. And I do intend on going back by myself soon, as it is buck season in PA. Thank you for your great videos, and as an avid person who watches Sasquatch videos, what you stand for and what you're trying to do is awesome. I have another story from when I was 15 and spent a week with my great aunt in northwestern Wisconsin in the mid-80s, but that's for another time. Thanks again. Keep the great videos coming. And there you go. And welcome to the club. I hope you got that buck. That's like the one I'm after for this year. He's probably 185, or I'm guessing 180, 185-ish. Big whitetail. There you go, you guys. I'd imagine this will be launching first thing in the morning. So, tomorrow, hopefully, I'm going to be talking to, I think Sarah's got a couple people a day. I don't know, I forget. She's taking care of that. Like I said, it's easier for me just to do what I'm told, right? I'm beat. 2 4 o'clock mornings in a row. But then driving all the way home. I'm going to go. It's hotter than hell in here. It was 93 outside today, and this shop wall is metal, and it faces the sun once it gets past noon. Oh. And I closed that door to stop the wind ripping through. I should have just left it open. Whatever. Share my story at howtohunt.com. That's where you get to share it, all right? Please, please, please share your truth here. Please. Anywhere. I don't give a shit. Just share it. Don't be scared of anybody. Get it out. Back later.